Patricia Solinsky, and I've been at St. Anthony for 42 years, 1976 we came.
And how many classes have you helped with their journey towards confirmation?
Well, interesting you asked that question, because the first year that I was here, I was asked by the 8th grade, well, at the time it was 7th grade, if you can believe that, which was the confirmation year, if I would take a group of boys and girls who were in the religion confirmation class, aside from the whole class, because their behavior was so impossible that the teacher could not possibly effectively cover the lesson. So I said yes, that I would do that. And so there were about 8 of the boys and girls that I had in a group all by themselves. And initially it was difficult because their behavior was not good, but I had decided that I wasn't going to send anyone to the principal. If I did that, that meant that I couldn't control the class and I couldn't be effective, and I wasn't going to do that. So we kind of all hunkered down, and it got so that the group, the 8, saw themselves as a group and wanted to make their own banners and establish their own selves. So they really came a long way. And one of the interesting antidotes to that was, we had at the time, we were transplanting plants from our home. And I got the idea for a service project that this 8 group of rather freewheeling, active students would help replant the plants around St. Anthony. So I put the plants in the car, I brought them down, the group came out, and it started to rain. And I said, oh, Lord, you couldn't possibly let the rain stop until we did this. And one of the members of the 8th, she said, Mrs. Solinsky, this is really God's way of saying the plants need rain. So I learned a lesson from her. So it was role reversal. Initially, I was going to be the one to help them, and she wound up teaching me a whole lot in that one little sentence. So that's the first year. Every year since then, I've had, in some fashion, been participative in those 8th grade, 7th grade boys and girls.
Do you feel that the children you are helping are too young, or do you think that 14 is the perfect age to be confirmed?
That is such an important question that the church, for all the years that I have been involved, has been debating, looking at, trying to find when is a good and accurate time. And to tell you the truth, they're never going to find the exact time, because everyone comes to know and fulfills what the whole idea of baptism, which is what confirmation kind of connects deeply with, that comes at various parts in your life. So when I first began, it was 7th grade in St. Anthony, which was about 12 years old. Then we went through in the diocese a kind of a whole issue where Archbishop McCarthy at the time said, we will pilot a program where you have to be 16 in order to be confirmed. And 1 or 2 parishes embraced that. But it didn't really work out. Because at 16, you were really no more ready to make a commitment of connection with baptism than you are at 13, 12 or 13. So Archbishop Favallaro, I believe, established that in this diocese, you must at least be 13 years of age. You cannot be younger, okay? So it can be any time after that. So right now, this evening, I will be with young men and women who are in their 20s and 30s who have not been confirmed. And they now, as adults, are preparing for confirmation. So they will tell you that it's been really very good because they've had an opportunity to revisit what they may have heard, not necessarily paid deep attention to, as they were in their teen years and preteen years. So I think it's a debatable, and all sacraments are moments of grace. So, whether you're 13 and your parents are supporting you and you're not sure what's happening or why you're doing it except they want you to do it, there's a grace in that. Or if you're 30 and you want to get married and you decide you want to be confirmed, and you go through the process, there's a grace in that. So I think, really and truthfully, that sacrament kind of holds a place of questions for the theologians and the liturgists and the people in the church. But for me, I think that any time after 13 is a good time.
When helping the kids or whatever, do you ever feel resistance from them?
Yes, I do, and I have. Not frequently, but I have. Absolutely. I would have to be absolutely honest and say yes, there are, and there have been. Not a number. I probably could number them maybe 5 if I really thought about it. And given the number of hundreds of boys and girls through the years, that's really not a very high number. But I know, and they just, it wasn't so much resistance to confirmation. There were other issues that were going on in their life, and they were using that situation to kind of establish who they were, perhaps, and saying, well, I don't really want to do it, or my parents are making me do it, you know. So I worked through that with them, because I knew the grace of the sacrament was what was going to happen, regardless of the parents, me, anyone, because it's the Holy Spirit. So, you know.
Do you think that most of the children being confirmed in this day and age are being convinced to do so by their family and or teachers?
Yes, I believe that most are. I believe that to expect many children, or the majority of children, to fully comprehend the graces and the experiment of the experience, not experiment, but yes, I think that would be to say that they will unpack that as they get older. That's what I believe.
If we waited until the children were older, do you think as many people would get confirmed?
No, I think definitely they wouldn't. I think, and that's why there are a number through the years in the RCIA process, or in the adult formation process, that there have been so many adults and young adults who have not been confirmed, you know, which is a great opportunity for us to evangelize and to reconnect people with the church. And, you know, the practice of what it is to be. I mean, your religion, it has to be something that not just you have in name, but that you want to act and respond to. And that's really an important thing, I believe.
All right. Could you please introduce yourself?
I'm Father Michael Grady, the pastor of St. Anthony Church.
And what is the significance of confirmation to you?
Well, confirmation is the final sacrament in the 3 sacraments of initiation. It's when you get the gifts of the Spirit, which will determine what kind of ministry you offer the church later in life.
And do you think children are being taught the importance of what it means to be confirmed?
I would hope so. I think we are doing a good job of that here at our school. And I know we used to do it well at St. Jerome's as well. So I would think so, yes.
And in your opinion, do you think children are being confirmed too young?
No.
No?
No, I think by 8th grade, 13 to 14 years old is old enough to understand what you're doing. I've always supported kids that wanted to delay it a year or two, because I think it should be the child's choice. But they're not so much a child at that age. They're becoming a teenager and they're on their way to adulthood. So I think it's fine. I think younger than that would be problematic.
Do you think it's different being confirmed when you're older rather than...
Well, I do, and it depends on how that confirmation takes place. If you go through an RCIA program, for example, and you're getting a full initiation, then you're deciding to join the church as an adult. So if you're deciding you want to be baptized to be part of the church, it's natural that you should be confirmed also.
Do you think most of the children being confirmed in this day and age are being convinced to do so by their family and or teachers?
Yes, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You know, all families have traditions, and if you just look at if you have older siblings that are old enough to vote, and ask if they're registered in the party that their parents belong to politically. It seemed that stuff happens. So there's some pressure, but I've always backed the student if the student wasn't ready yet.
If we waited until children were older, do you think as many people would get confirmed?
Not necessarily, because if they fall out of a religious system, then you've got other variables like parents driving them to class or them driving themselves to class. If they're in a Catholic school system, they'll tend to get the sacraments along with their class. Dr. Robertson, these ladies deserve an A on this project.